Obscure Characters Month rolls on, and this week we're looking at the tale of the honourable Decepticon who discovered what it means to be an Autobot. These are the basics on Carnivac. The original Carnivac toy was released in 1988. He was a Pretender, a kind of Transformer who hid his true robotic form inside a biomechanical outer shell. Specifically, Carnivac was a Pretender beast, a Pretender who transformed into a four-legged animal, in his case, a wolf, and whose shell was an organic version of the same creature. Marvel Comics writer Bob Budiansky wrote a profile for Carnivac that characterized him as a Decepticon hunter-tracker who took delight in committing horrible acts. He believed that a cunning smile was more devastating than even the fiercest weapon, and was always grinning, even in the midst of battle. But it was by growing beyond this personality that Carnivac became popular with readers of the Marvel comic book. You see, while Budiansky included him in only a single issue of the American comic, Carnivac was the star of an extended story arc written for the British version of the comic by author Simon Furman. Furman introduced Carnivac into the series as the leader of the Decepticon Special Operations Unit, the Mayhem Attack Squad. He and his team were instructed by Decepticon High Command on Cybertron to join forces with the Autobot Commando Unit, the Wreckers, for a mission to Earth to combat the rogue Decepticon leader Megatron and his time-traveling future self, Galvatron, who together posed a danger to both factions alike. Carnivac was given secret orders to kill any Wreckers that survived the battle, but when Wrecker leader Springer saved his life during the fight, Carnivac's sense of warrior's honor led him to disobey this command and aid Springer in return. The battle decimated the ranks of both teams. Of the Mayhems, only Carnivac and his comrade Catilla survived, left stranded on Earth. This led into Carnivac's sole appearance in the American comic, in which he was recruited for a one-off mission by Earth-based Decepticon leader Scorponok. Scorponok used his advanced technology to create a Pretender shell for Carnivac, in return for which he and fellow Pretender beast Snarler were to hunt down and kill the Autobot's human ally, Spike Witwicky. But they failed in the mission when Spike called in his Autobot partner Fortress Maximus to fight them off. Carnivac's story then picked back up in the British comic, as he and Catilla linked up with the surviving Wreckers, and with both teams feeling used and abandoned by their respective factions' leaders, they decided to join forces and form a new group called the Survivors. As a result, Snarler branded Carnivac and Catilla traitors, and assembled a new Mayhem attack squad to hunt and execute them. Allying with the Autobots proved challenging for Carnivac, as he soon found that working with them off the battlefield, doing good and helping humans instead of fighting, was at odds with his warrior's nature. Still, he wanted to be a better bot, and the Autobots' ideals would slowly rub off on him. When the Mayhem attack squad caught up to him, Carnivac took a stand to protect innocent humans during their battle, realizing at last the importance of fighting for others, instead of just for the glory of the fight itself. Tragically, when the other survivors arrived to help him, Catilla was killed by the Mayhems, and Carnivac swore vengeance for his death. He proceeded to hunt the Mayhems down and kill them one by one, but surprised the Autobots when he chose to spare the group's most depraved members, Bludgeon, Octopunch, and Stranglehold. The Autobots thought he was showing mercy, until Carnivac explained that for this trio, denying them a glorious end in battle was a torture worse than death. He might have embraced the Autobot way, but when it came to making his enemies suffer, at heart, Carnivac was still a Decepticon. Carnivac's storyline was one of the last major long-form stories written for the UK comic, and it made the character a cult favourite with readers in the British Isles. However, this was the only place Carnivac had any popularity. Virtually unknown everywhere else in the world, Carnivac spent the next 25 years making only small cameos in a handful of comic books, prose stories, and manga from various different publishers. Most notable was a 2013 issue of Regeneration 1, a continuation of the original Marvel comic set in an alternate timeline that ignored the events of the UK stories, which depicted him as a member of the Mayhem attack squad still taking part in a major Decepticon strike against Autobot-controlled Cybertron. The only new toy to bear Carnivac's name in all this time, meanwhile, was a mini-con released exclusively at Toys R Us stores in Japan as a tie-in with the live-action movie Age of Extinction. The figure was a recolor of the Decepticon wolf Overbite from 2006's Transformers Classics, and was intended to represent the biomechanical wolves used in the film by the bounty hunter Lockdown, which in Hasbro markets were named Steeljaws. Bringing Carnivac back to the spotlight required a fan of the Marvel UK comic, writer-artist Nick Roach, who did just that in IDW Publishing's 2015 comic book miniseries Sins of the Wreckers. Taking inspiration from Furman's depiction of him as a bot dissatisfied with his faction's leadership, Roach cast Carnivac as the head of a terrorist cell named Mayhem, a gang of anarchists out to take down Cybertron's ruling classes of both Autobots and Decepticons and restore power to the people. A former student of the Autobot lawman Ultra Magnus, Carnivac could emit a howl that affected the nervous system of other Transformers who heard it, allowing him to control their bodies, paralyzing them or even forcing them to transform. In Sins, Carnivac's organization partnered with the scientist Tarantulas, serving as his enforcers in return for Tarantulas upgrading them with organic beast modes that hid them from Cybertronian sensors. Working for Tarantulas brought Mayhem into conflict with the Wreckers, a battle that wound up having a personal cost for Carnivac when it took the life of his old friend, the Autobot, Stakeout. The Wreckers ultimately won by using Carnivac's powers against his teammates, after which disgruntled Wrecker Impactor decided to leave the team and join Mayhem in their crusade. In the 2018 sequel, Requiem of the Wreckers, this led to a power struggle between Impactor and Carnivac for command of the organization, and when Carnivac went behind Impactor's back to try and reassert control, it resulted in a disastrous mission failure and the deaths of the entire rest of Mayhem at the hands of the Decepticon super warrior, Overlord. The ashamed Carnivac's guilty conscience then led him to aid Impactor and Springer in their subsequent battle with Overlord, using his powers on the Decepticon at a pivotal moment that ensured Overlord's defeat. After another long stretch of quiet years, 2025 saw Carnivac make an unexpected appearance in the pages of Skybound's Transformers comic, though his role here was almost as brief as most of his past cameos, as he was killed by the Autobot Shredhead. Still, the same year also saw the release of the first new toy of the character in the Age of the Primes toy line, a retool and recolor of the 2016 Titans Return Wolfwire figure styled after his appearance in the Marvel comic. Instead of a Pretender, this figure was a Headmaster, a Transformer whose head disconnected and converted into a partner minifigure that could ride in a cockpit built into his wolf mode. In honor of his Showcase Marvel UK storyline, Carnivac's partner was named Survivor. Carnivac was part of the Amazon-exclusive Wreck and Doom collection, themed around the Mayhems and the Wreckers, and came in a 2-pack with Wreckers member Iron Fist. Decepticon, Autobot, Mayhem, Survivor, and more, yet Carnivac remains a lone wolf, most at home in Obscure Characters Month. And those are the basics on Carnivac. Did you know this character from the Marvel UK days, or was IDW your first encounter? Let me know in the comments. And of course, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you next week for our final installment of Obscure Characters Month 2025.